If you look at this side, what would your nationality be? On this right side right here, this is what God called us. On the left side, that's what our oppressors called us. So which one would you fit? Issachar, right? That's a mighty tribe of the 12 tribes of Israel, but you've been told you're a Mexican, right? So now the thing I got to do for you, because if I was to ask you what's your nationality, you will say what? Mexican, right? So now I got to show you you're not a Mexican. You're not a Hispanic. Those are slave names given to you. You are an Israelite according to the Bible. Right there, your tribe is Issachar. So now I got to show you how you are Israel because you don't know, right? So give me Deuteronomy 1:1. Watch this. We're going to show you who you are according to the Bible. Watch this.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 1, verse 1. These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel.
So who is Moses talking to right here? Read it again.
These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel.
So who are you talking to? Moses talking to who? One more time.
These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel.
Israel, right? So God talking to Israel. Give me 28. Go to 28 and 15. So the reason we went there is to show the context that God is talking to Israel, right? So now we're going to show who Israel is, how we know that we're the Israelites according to the Bible, how we know. What's your name, sis? Tammy. We're going to show you, Tammy, how we know that you're an Israelite according to this Bible. Watch this. Give me Deuteronomy 28:15.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
So remember, this is Moses thousands of years ago talking to Israel. He said, it shall come to pass, which means in the future, if you don't listen to the voice of the Lord thy God, he's going to tell you what's going to go on. First, we're going to figure out what the voice of the Lord thy God is. Read.
To observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day.
So the voice of the Lord thy God is the laws and the statutes that Moses was commanding our people, right? Let's see what he said. He said, if you don't keep the laws and the statutes, what's going to happen?
That all these curses.
Stop. Is curses a good thing or a bad thing? If somebody put a curse on you, did they give you? It's a bad thing, right? So right here, Moses is telling Israel, if you don't keep the laws and statutes of the Most High God, all these curses are going to come upon thee.
Come upon thee and overtake thee.
And overtake thee. That means they're going to overtake you. You can't get out of it. Well, if something overtakes you, it means it consumes you. Right. There's no way you can get out of it, right? So Moses is saying, if you don't keep these commandments, they're going to overtake you. Give me 46. Because that's Moses telling us, and we're going to tell you why he told us this. Watch this.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 46. And they shall be upon thee for a sign.
So the day right here is the curses that he said he's going to put upon. He said these curses are going to be upon you for a sign, to let you know something at the last days. Because he says, it shall come to pass. So not at that time, he's talking about today, these curses are going to be a sign. Read.
Upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
Upon thy seed forever. Do you know what the seed of a man is? Like we know that fruit, you put the seed in the ground, but for a man, what would be a man's seed? A baby, right? His kids, right? So it says these curses are going to be upon the seed of the Israelites back then forever. So even today, is today part of forever? So these curses are going to be upon us today is what it's basically saying. Now go back to 16 real quick. Watch this. We're going to go over some curses that he said that is going to happen to the Israelites. And we're going to see who that's happening to today. All right? Watch this.
Verse 16. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field.
It said, cursed shalt thou be in the city. Any city that you go to, who lives in the poorest parts of town? What people live in the poorest parts of every city you go to? The blacks and the Mexicans, right? That's one of the curses, right? Read.
Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field.
He said, cursed shalt thou be in the field. During slavery, who was cursed to pick cotton and everything in the fields, right? And then even today, in the fruit fields, who's cursed? Who's picking fruit for very low wages? Just to survive, right? Our people, right? So that's one verse of curses that fit just us, right? Give me 32.
Verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people.
Whose kids are being given to another people right now? What's going on at the border right now? With the so-called Mexicans, right? They're taking the kids, locking the kids in cages, and the parents are getting don't know where their kids are, right? So that's one of the curses Moses said. And he said it's going to be done by what? Read it from the top.
Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people.
He says to another people. So at the border, are the Mexicans taking the Mexicans' kids right now? No, who's taking it? It's another race of people, right? Read, finish.
And thine eyes shall look and fail with longer for them all the day long.
He said, and all you can do right now, all they can do is cry, right? Once they take their kids, all they can do is cry. And this is why, read.
And there shall be no might in thine hand.
It's no might in their hands, right? So can the so-called Mexican go tell them, hey, give my kids back? We don't got the power. They got the army backing them. They run the world right now. So there's no way we can say, hey, give us our kids back, right? But God said that's going to happen to the Israelites, right? So who did that fit, though? Is there anybody else that's happening to right now? No. If CPS comes and take one of our people's kids right now, can we say, hey, give me my kid back? Is CPS ran by our people or another people? Another people, right? But God said that's going to happen to the Israelites. But that's happening to young people too, right? All right, give me 33. I'll see.
The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up.
So he says the fruit of thy land, right? So Texas was originally part of Mexico, right? So this was supposed to be your land, right? So everything that grows, the cotton that grows here, the peanuts and all that, that's supposed to be yours, right? But he said what's going to happen? He said the fruit of thy land, what?
Fruit of thy land shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up.
A nation that they didn't know back then was going to eat up. Who right now is taking the resources that's grown right here in Texas? What nation? Is it the Mexicans who benefit off of it? Is it another people, right? That's a curse that Moses said is going to happen to the Israelites, but it's happening to us, right? All right, now give me 48. Watch this. The Bible, what you're going to realize is the Bible is talking to you, sis. The Bible is for you. We've been told that God loves everybody, that the Bible is for everybody. The Bible is the white man book. No, the Bible is your book. We're showing you right now who Moses is talking to. He said the Israelites is who he's talking to, right? All Israel. But it's fitting you, right? It's crazy, right? Watch this. 48.
Verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies.
So he says you're going to serve who? Your enemies, right? Keep that word in mind, right? Because we're going to identify who the enemy is with this verse. Read.
Which the Lord shall send against thee.
And God sent them against us. Do you remember why we got these curses on us? In verse 15. Go back to 15. We're going to read 15 real quick. And then we're going to go back and explain. This is going to explain why God sent those enemies against us. Read.
Deuteronomy 28, verse 15. Yeah. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
Hearken means listen. So he said, if you don't listen to the voice of the Lord thy God, read.
To observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So why did these curses come upon us? We weren't following the commandments, right? So now we're going to go back to 28:48. Read.
Deuteronomy 28:48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee.
So now, why did God send those enemies against us? For not following the commandments, right? And he said enemies, right? Keep that in mind. We're going to identify who that enemy is. Read.
In hunger and in thirst.
He said you're going to serve your enemy in hunger and in thirst. So right now you're eating this honey bun. If you're hungry, who do you get your food from? Did you buy that from your own people? Did you buy that from our people? Who? You bought it from the store, right? Who owns the store? White people, right? But God called them what? At the beginning of this verse, what did he say? The word I tell you to remember? Start from the top again.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies.
So what did he call them? Enemies, right? Keep it.
Which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst.
And in thirst. Rain falls out the sky for free, right? But if you get a glass of water out the sink, you got to pay a water bill. Who do you pay that water bill to? To the enemy, right? If you go to the store and buy a bottle of Dasani, who owns that Dasani company or whatever water brand you get? The enemy, right? And God said the Israelites were going to have to serve their enemies in one of all things, right? Read.
And in nakedness.
And in nakedness. If you want clothes, do we buy our clothes from each other? Our people pick cotton for hundreds of years, right? Do you get a free T-shirt? You got to buy that from who? Who owns the stores that sell their things? The enemies, right? Read.
And in want of all things.
And want of all things, not just materials. You gotta, if you want a birth certificate, a death certificate, an education, religion, food, like we said, food, water, clothes, all of that, you gotta go to your enemies for that, right? And who do we say the enemy was? What people is it? What do we call them today? The white people, right? So this is not a hate, this is biblical. You know what I'm saying? And this is God talking to the Israelites, right? Read this last part. This is good. This is how you know if there was any doubt of who the enemy was. Watch this part.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
He said he's gonna put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee, right? Where my son at? Right here. A yoke of iron, right? So who was going around putting yokes of iron on people's necks? What race of people, right? The same what, but what did God call them? Enemies, right? So we got enemies. We gotta understand that we got enemies. But the point of this is, okay, God, he said it's gonna happen to Israelite, but who did all these curses that we just went over fit? It's us, right? The blacks and the Hispanics, right? Give me 68 real quick. This one right here, this is a curse. If you had any doubt, we're gonna submit it in your head who the Israelites are according to the Bible, because Moses said this is gonna happen to the Israelites. Watch this.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
He said he's going to bring you into Egypt again, right? We never went back to physical Egypt, right? But Egypt is a Greek word, right? We're going to let you know we're going to let the Bible explain what that word means, okay? Because when you think Egypt, you think of the place with the pyramids, which that's where they were coming from. But what were they doing in Egypt? Watch this.
I am, Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 6. I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt.
So he's telling the Israelites, I'm the Lord your God that brought you out of the land of Egypt.
From the house of bondage.
From the house of bondage. What is bondage? Tying up, right? Slavery, right? We got tied up in slavery. So he said, I brought you out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. So according to the Bible, Egypt means house of bondage or slavery, right? So now we're going to go back to Deuteronomy 28, 68. Watch this.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt.
What is Egypt? Slavery, bondage, right?
Again, with ships.
How did the so-called African American get to America? On slave ships, right? So God said, I'm going to bring you, if you don't keep my commandments, I'm going to bring you back into slavery with ships, right? Did that happen to anybody else in the world?
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
He said you're not going to see your homeland ever again, because remember, we're going to the promised land. So he said, the way I'm telling you is going to happen, if you break these commandments, you're never going to see your homeland again, right?
And there,
once you get off those ships, because the ships dock different places. That's why the Israelites were in Puerto Rico, the Cubans, the Dominicans, the Haitians, all of those places, Jamaicans, those are all Israelites. So in there right there is multiple places. But what we happen to wind up is here in America. So once those slave ships dock, what happened?
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
What happened to the slaves once they got off the slave ships? Did they all just stay together and run around together, or did they get sold to different places? They were separated and sold, right? But God said that's going to happen to the Israelites, right? Read.
For bondmen and bondwomen.
Slave men and slave women. So when they got sold, they weren't free when they sold, right? They got sold as slaves, right? Read.
And no man shall buy you.
No man shall buy you. We had Frederick Douglass, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, all those great men, Cesar Chavez, all those great men rose up to try to save us. But are we still suffering from those curses we went over? He said, no man gonna save us. There's only one person that can save us.
We used to scream black power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission. Minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold. From Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.